Hey everyone, how's it going? Today I'm gonna show you a really cool variation against the Caro-Kann defense. If you don't know the Caro-Kann in chess, it's when the player with the black pieces makes this move and waits for you to make mistakes so they can get good positions later on. But what I'm going to show you here is a move that will surprise your opponent. It brings good results. It can turn a draw into a win if you're playing against people with a higher rating than yours, and it can catch your opponent off guard because they don't expect it. Alright? So the move is this one. You play 4. Look, when you play 4, if we check the evaluation bar here and show the accuracy, it shows 0.15, which means this move is still accurate. He's going to play the Caro-Kann, and here you come and defend this pawn. Then you might think, wait, but he's going to come here and take the pawn. Yes, you allow that to happen because when you make this decision, you leave these 2 pawns of yours here in the center, controlling this area. You traded queens, you lost castling rights, yes, but you have a controlled center. And you only have 2 pawn islands, right? You didn't damage your structure, you just lost the ability to castle. And that's part of this opening in the Caro-Kann. So often your opponent will keep making the usual Caro-Kann moves, simply because you're going to surprise them. Look, when they come here to check you, which they would normally do in other games, you already bring the advantage to 0.40. So he thinks he's making normal moves, and you will too, saying, oh wow, the guy lost castling without realizing it, just because this is actually the right move. And here, if he keeps developing his pieces, you come and protect this pawn with your bishop, right? And this is where the magic of this move begins. What happens next? You already have a 0.40 advantage, right? It's not significant, but you already have control of the center, completely dominated here. You'll be able to develop your bishop, you can bring out your knight, you can bring out the other knight, and you're in a comfortable position. You've only lost castling. You can move your king over here and bring your rooks to the center. Now the good thing about this move is that if the player makes a standard Caro-Kann move, preparing to castle, you already gain a 2-point advantage. Why is that? Here, he entered his main line. He thinks nothing will happen just because you do this, but you have this pawn threatening to win the bishop, and he has nowhere to go. Because if he comes here, you push forward and he loses the bishop by force. That gives you almost a 3-point advantage, right? He loses the bishop automatically. But what if he tries to go here instead? You push this pawn and he has nowhere else to go. He'll have to sacrifice his bishop to avoid losing the game. He can sacrifice here, but now you've opened up your rook's file, right? So what happens? Yeah, players have fallen for this trick countless times, and we're talking about strong players, folks. Strong players. What happens is that he might see it and sometimes he frees up the square, but even so, it still gives you a 1.93 advantage. Why? Because even if he does that, you've managed to control everything here. Look, I missed something. The right move was 5, already effectively trapping the bishop here in this position, leaving it with no escape, right? Sorry, I made a mistake with the move. F5, and here you're going to win his bishop no matter what way, right? P. So this position is full of little tricks. So here the best move for the player is to bring this piece back. If, let's suppose he played here, I played here, the best move that the engine suggests, well, some moveset would be to bring this bishop back. That wouldn't be bad, right? It wouldn't be a bad move, let's suppose. If he comes back here, he stays. And it's very hard to find this move. It's very hard to find the same move. right? And let's suppose that he keeps going here, develops normally. You have the same the same theme, right guys? So it's really easy to play against this here. He takes and lifts up. So now I'm going to share the plans with you in case he doesn't fall for this trap here, right? In all these cases, if he lifts up here, he has to bring this bishop back. He has to bring this bishop back so that he returns here, okay? And we will continue the game from this position. Here our main goal will be to bring it right here to this specific spot. Now let's suppose, for example, that he advances the pawn, then you move this knight, after which he brings his bishop over here, and then we bring the king and he brings his knight. Do you see what's happening, guys? By making these natural logical moves, we have a 1-point advantage, a clear 1-point advantage, right? This is important. The 1-point advantage, as you can see, it's a small but significant advantage, a 1-point lead, which can make a real difference in the game. So as you notice, even with simple straightforward moves, we maintain this 1-point advantage, and that's something to keep in mind as the game progresses. Now here, specific variations start to appear that you will study. It depends on the order your opponent plays. Here it suggests that you play a4, right? Let's suppose you play this move, where you propose to exchange bishops. Look, you still keep the advantage here, because I'm going to tell you what the secret is. Yeah, let's suppose he retreats. I'll just play out the moves here so you can see exactly what happens, and I'll remove this piece. And let's say he castles. So what happens then? When you've completed this setup right here, you'll start pushing these pawns forward, bring this rook over to the open file on the board, and you'll be absolutely dominating and attacking his castle position. There's really nothing at all he can do about it in this position. It's completely secure for you. This knight here is very strong because it defends everything. So if by any chance he actually comes forward and aggressively attacks your bishop with his rook right here, you simply just push this pawn up, and then after that move it over here just like this, and you'll be in a good position to continue. After that he'll be coming in here, and if he moves this pawn, advancing it along this diagonal, it's very strong, very solid, and the Caro-Kann opponent doesn't understand this. He plays nobody has really stopped to study this in depth, right? Because it's a move that doesn't make much sense. You're going to trade queens, and who would want to trade queens like that right at the start and lose castling rights, right? But it's very strong, very well structured, and you already start with an advantage. At no point are you putting your game at risk. Alright guys? Yeah, okay, so I'm just going to go through a few different sequences of moves here for you, step by step, just so you can see very clearly that you can actually play this game normally as expected, basically. So I'll just show you a few moves here. These aren't the correct moves, okay? So your goal here is to do this. Look. It's to set up this position, and now go on the attack. He's completely stuck here. He's completely blocked in this area, and you're building a very strong attacking position by advancing your pawns. Right? This opening is really amazing. It's very surprising and strong. You're not taking any risks. You're not doing anything unusual. Nothing out of the ordinary, and you can use it in strong tournaments. I've already played it in strong tournaments. I've had significant victories with this opening, and yes, you can play it too. Alright everyone? So let's go through a few moves here. It also sometimes appears in the French defense, right? In the French, it's called the La Bourdonnais variation, which is this one here. Are there some variations? Yes, there are some variations, but here in the French, you already have a slight advantage, right? Because he can't come with this one over here, so he'll do this, and you do the same thing. You basically do the same thing here, and the plan would be pretty much the same. You can go ahead and exchange this bishop here. Alright everyone. And what's the advantage for him in the endgame? What happens is that if you manage to trade everything off, your king is already in the center. If you, the opponent, says, oh, I'm going to keep trading pieces, and you keep managing to trade pieces, your king is already in the center for the endgame. While his king is still castled, or over here, either here or here, you'll already have your king in the center, right? Oh, it might seem like, wait, but we shouldn't play with the king in the center? That principle, okay. It's just that in this case, you have all your pieces well structured. Your king is safe. There's a lot of security here, and there's no way for queen attack because you've traded the queens. So everything is very well structured, and your king is already ready for the endgame. If he wants to go into an endgame, you have a better chance than he does of winning, because your king is already positioned in the center. So it's also very good for an endgame, folks. Right? Let's go back here. Let's go back here once again to the Caro-Kann defense, showing in detail what happens in this particular position, in this specific situation. Okay, and what if he doesn't trade queens? And what if he comes over here? He'll just keep playing as usual, right? In that case, there's no way for you to force him to change the game. And look, you already have about a 0.6 advantage, more or less. The secret here is pretty much the same thing, you know? Yeah, he's going to develop his pieces. You have this very well structured center. You'll keep developing here. It showed that this wasn't the right move, any knight to e3, right, over here, but just keep developing your pieces as usual and keep following the normal, natural course of the game. Yeah, here he talks about playing a4, which is a typical move in this position. Another move, let's see here if something more or less like this, or perhaps something slightly different, just to see how things might unfold. Okay, for now you don't need to, you can follow your usual sequence, but the principle is still the same. It's moving here, moving there, that's it. Be careful if the queen is here, right? You'll have to watch out, okay? You can also put the bishop in fianchetto here. Yeah, one move I tell you to watch out for is when this knight comes here. Look, guys. At this point in the game, I captured here, and then captured again in this area. After that, I took here, and once more I took here as well. Right, so let's suppose that he decides to check at this point. He played his move here, and in response, I played my move here. After that, I proceeded with the usual defensive moves, just as is commonly done in this situation, making sure to protect my position and maintain a solid defense. And here, guys, look, the computer says that the best move here is bishop to c8. This is very hard for someone to get right, it's really difficult. Only if they're familiar with some theory who's going to positionally move their bishop all the way back to its starting square, losing development, losing everything. No, there's no way someone would find that move, unless they've seen it on the computer. Right? That's why it's amazing when you play this opening. It's amazing when you do this against the Caro-Kann, right? Let's suppose he does that. What do you play? And here, the player makes a normal move. I'm gonna go through a few moves here, okay guys? Yeah, if he does, just be careful later on. When he plays a move, that's kind of like, oops, I made the wrong move. When he plays a move, that's kind of, yeah, this is the structure, right? We've set up the structure. Sometimes in certain moves, he plays a move like this, not now, but when you don't have this bishop, when this bishop isn't here, maybe you've already traded these bishops, right? And he brings this knight here. So many times, let me see if I can set up the king's positions here. If he, let me go through move here. Played, let's just straight here, and okay, took here. These aren't the correct moves, okay guys? I'm just showing you if he had made, let's say after a few moves sokai. I'm playing incorrectly here just to show you. If he makes this move here, look, against this move you already have to prevent it beforehand. Sometimes you're going to make this move here. Look, let me show you a move. You make this move, suppose he castles and makes this move here, right? Raise this pawn and then this pawn here. Why? You set up that structure there just because you prevented him from making this move here and attacking here as well, right? You prevent him from attacking these two squares with the knight, so you can set up this structure here as well. His knight kind of lost out. You controlled here as well. Everything is under control. Yeah. And you set up almost the same structure. Now, here's the thing. If he goes for this castle, if he castles to the other side, the principle is almost the same, right? Let's suppose he brings it over here. Yeah, which is bad. That means you're going to start advancing on the opposite side. Bring the rooks over. You can already place a rook here in an X-ray and lift the rooks up, right? You're not risking anything. Your structure is already complete. Your king is already near the center, and here this move is going to become amazing against the Caro-Kann. So that's it, folks. I wanted to share this with you to show you this opening to surprise Caro-Kann players. since they always set up their little structures and aren't really expecting surprises, and this one will catch them off guard. You can use it in classical games, you can use it in tournaments, absolutely. Alright, thanks to everyone who watched the video. Give it a like if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I'm making a bunch of educational videos for you all. Let's see if we can get more subscribers so we can do more events and bring more content to you, alright? Write here what you thought, if this opening helped you, if you're going to use it, okay? And if you watched the video all the way to the end, write this: Chess Total is the best channel in the world. If you write that, I'll know you watched the video until the end. Alright? Thanks everyone. Big thanks and a hug to everyone who watched the video up to this point.